I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, a man who's been on the internet since 1999. That almost sounds medieval in internet years. But that's how forward-thinking this guy is. To know, I need a website in 1999. That's one of the original people on the internet, and he's a brilliant guy. We're talking about Harvey Organ of Harvey Organ, Blogspot.com. He knows all about gold and silver in the physical form, and all about the London Bullion Market Association, the COMEX. Harvey Organ, thank you for joining us from Toronto.
Well, thanks for having me, Greg.
Well, in the pre-interview, I said, the one question I get, especially from the gold and silver community, and it's a one-word question, and it is when. When is the manipulation going to be killed? When is the price of gold and silver going to reevaluate? When is all this criminal activity going to answer? And you said, I think it's this year. So you're here to tell us when this is going to happen, and I think you told me in the pre-interview it was going to happen this year. Please explain.
Yes, it's definitely going to happen this year. What you have to do is watch what's going on in Shanghai, China. China is the physical market, as well as, of course, London. But what's happening is Shanghai lately has been bringing in, actually this last week was about 42 tons of gold. The week before was 46 tons.
In a week?
In a week.
Yeah, we can't deliver but 5 tons in a year back to Germany, but go ahead.
Now listen, if you divide that on a 7-day week, that's about 6 tons, a little over 6 tons of gold per day. And believe it or not, the world produces about 6 tons of gold per day, ex-China, ex-Russia. We remove China and Russia because not 1 ounce of gold ever leaves their respective countries. So you can just imagine if they're taking almost 100% of the world's supply of gold, eventually this thing must end, and it's going to end very, very rapidly. And what you're actually seeing is both London, the LBMA, the Bank of England, and the Federal Reserve Bank of New York are using their gold, which is other people's gold, and they're supplying that metal to China. And they're very, very happy to absorb it. And it's actually, yes. And actually, that's what I said back in 2010 to the commissioner. I think it was O'Malley who asked me. And I said that basically gold is going to move from west to east. And he looked at me as a stunned. I remember that was March of 2010, and China was just getting started then.
And you have testified, I left this out, but you have testified in front of Congress. You are no amateur with this. I mean, I know this isn't your chosen profession, that you are a pharmacist by profession, but you are well beyond any kind of amateur if they're inviting you to testify in front of Congress. But I just wanted to add that. Go ahead.
Well, I testify in the CFTC hearings. This is the silver probe.
In Washington, I should say, not in front of Congress. Thank you. It
was in Washington, and that was a very scary time for me. But anyway, that's at that hearing. That's when Jeff Christian came out and said that there are basically 100 obligations of gold for every 1 ounce of physical metal there is. And he basically is part of the banking cartel. So from that point in time, we kind of knew, and Adrian Douglas and I, we exposed that this was happening. And basically, that's what the COMEX is. You're seeing a huge amounts of obligations per 1 ounce of gold that's available. And as the gold moves from west to east, the bubble of paper obligations that's left are going to blow up. And so that is basically what we're seeing in gold. So gold is a massive movement towards basically 3 countries. You're seeing China massively bringing on physical metal. Certainly Russia is taking probably 6 to 10 tons a month, and India is now back up to 1,000 tons a year. So if you figure the world produces no more than 2,200 tons of gold per year, ex-China, ex-Russia, more than 100% of that gold is going to those three countries.
Tell me the U.S. is not out of gold and we're not that stupid to be in a gold war and not holding on to our own gold.
I doubt very much if the United States has 1 ounce of gold left. I strongly believe that they have basically leaked it out. And Steve D'Angelo was working on that paper. It should be out next week, and he's actually digging into the exports of the United States. And he's going to show that the United States has been exporting a lot of other people's gold, which is the same as what London has done. London has done that as well. They have moved, because remember, there are two foreign depositories, huge foreign depositories. One is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and the second, of course, is the Bank of England. And they've been having massive deposits of other people's gold because it's safe. There is, of course, England was an island, and they felt it was safe to store. So Germany, and certainly France had some of their gold there, Austria. And now all of a sudden, there seems to be a movement. Germany has asked for a lot of its gold back. Austria is demanding its gold back, and they're beginning to realize that it's just not coming back.
Well, back to the when question then is the obvious question, because in the pre-interview you said, I said when, you said, it's this year. And let me explain why. Explain why you think that the gold suppression game ends in 2014 before the end of the year.
Okay. I'll try to do the best I can. In the year 1998, there was about 28,000 tons of gold sitting in the world. And a lot of them will say 32,000, but I'm pretty sure the IMF gold is double counted. So if we take away, and it really got 28,000 tons back in 1998, the demand for gold has been somewhere around 4,000 tons of demand. Supply coming in 22, 24, leaving a deficit of 1,800 to 2,000 tons per year. The leasing game started the leasing really started in 1988, but very, very tiny. And it starts going much higher in the year 1993. So over the last 20, 30 years, all that gold has been leased out. Gold that's been leased never comes back. The central banks never ask for that gold back. And now this is why there's huge derivatives outstanding, because there are obligations. That gold has been leased, and where is it? It's gone private. People have been wearing it. It's gone to India, to brides, jewelers, and that, although gold is still present, it's not used as silver is consumed. Gold is still present, but it has really moved to aid to various countries, to private hands, and gold at the central area, the central banks, is gone. They are left with nothing but...
You say there is no more gold in central banks in the United States, in the European Union, in the UK Central Bank. All gone, bye-bye. See ya. Poof.
I would probably think that the only country that would certainly the Eastern countries would have, China would have it, Russia would have it. Maybe France has maybe 500 tons left. Germany has the 1,000 tons that it got back in 2001. That gold, and basically that's it on the Western Front.
So why does it end this year? Summarize your position why the gold, and we'll get to silver, why the gold suppression game ends this year.
You can look at the GOFA rates, which is London's rate, and it is minuscule. And generally, whenever you see, and that's basically gold into backwardation. Gold should never, ever, ever come close to backwardation, because gold is really money. And when you're seeing that these rates are, and it did go into backwardation in May for probably 45 days. And it's probably an indication that the central banks have run out of any metal to use. They need metal to supply in order to lease out. And this is why to rate. So when you look at the GLD and you're seeing, well, wait a minute, it's gone down to 785 and it seems to stop there.
785 tons.
785 tons. Now, it got there before. I think that what's there at the GLD is nothing but paper obligations. I don't think you're going to see it go down any further because there isn't any over at GLD. And I don't think there's any silver at SLV. I just think they're nothing but frauds. They're just obligations. They're paper.
But I'm going to get you lasered in here. Why, when this year? What's going to be the thing? Because people have told me, well, they can do this forever. They can just keep adding derivatives and adding derivatives and adding derivatives, and they can put this off. They can just print money. But why does the when happen this year? Why does it stop this year?
Two things. One is a paper default. You can always paper over a paper problem, but you cannot paper over a physical default. A physical default means China is saying it wants its gold and it's going to demand its gold. So what's going to happen is China is going to come to the world and say, look, I've got 5,000 tons to my credit, and I'm going to raise the bid to, let's say, 3,000 bid, no offer, whatever it is. I'm willing to take all private gold, whatever you want, I'm taking it. That's when the game is over.
Why do you think it happens this year?
I'm seeing that it's more difficult for London to supply metal to China. It's that when I start seeing you'll notice that the GLD levels have been remaining quite constant around between 785 and 800 for the last, 6-8 months. When London is out, they have to come to the United States. They have to come to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York to supply. And I don't think there's anything there because the go-forward rates are very, very tiny. I don't think that...
When you say go forward, it's go forward rates. In other words, you can buy gold cheaper today, or wait, how does that work, backwardation? You can buy gold, it's more expensive today than it will be in the future.
Correct. And gold, to be money, it means that you're giving an automatic profit for anybody. If he has a gold, let's say today at $1,250 and it's $1,100 in December, a guy who sells it at $1,250 makes $150 profit. It's a sure profit. But if he doesn't want to do this because he's fearful that he is not getting his gold, he will not do this trade. So what you're seeing is these go-for rates are minuscule is because investors are fearful that they will not get their metal back.
And so the reason why you're saying it's over this year, summarize it in a couple of sentences so somebody dumb like me can understand it.
It means what I'm trying to tell you, and it's more so in silver, because if you hear what I'm telling you in silver, it'll be the same. But the rates, the go-forward rates are so minuscule, it's telling me, and the GLD levels remaining constant, that both London and New York are finished supplying the metal, that China can no longer, or India or Russia, are having difficulty taking the flow of gold onto their shores.
They can't even get it to their shores, is what you're saying. There's no more there.
It's becoming less and less for them.
And you think that this is the year they run out of gold at LBMA and at COMEX and at GLD?
Correct. And I can see it more in silver. I can tell you what, silver is even more fascinating.
I want to finish up with gold here first, though. So if you could summarize this for me, that you think that LBMA is out?
Yes.
COMEX, poof?
Yes. Yes.
GLD, what you said was nothing there but paper.
Paper.
And why? And so you think it's by when this year do you think that China will come out and say, okay, whoop, we're not getting any more gold? Russia's going to come out and say, we're not getting any. How are we going to know that it's over?
Russia, it'll be probably China announces to the world how much gold it has.
Do you think that's going to be this year?
Yeah, China says I got 6,000 tons combined with Russia.
Some people say it's way higher than that. Some people say it's 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000. Some people. You got to quit moving in your chair just for a minute. There you go. I know you're nervous about this, but some people say it's much higher than 6,000 tons.
I doubt it. My bet is it's about 4,500 tons.
Okay, but is that enough for them to take the yuan as a reserve currency or a currency that can compete with the dollar?
Yes.
So you think that's the end game. So what's the end game with this, with China and Russia and the gold and India? What's the end game?
Well, first of all, China will be joined to the hip with Russia. So Russia will be the new muscle. So you see that those two are joined at the hip. So whatever Russia has, it'll announce to the world what it. So I actually think that they have double what they say they have. So Russia has about 1,035 tons to its credit. And I probably think that they've hidden a lot more. So let's say they have 2,000 tons and you got 45 to 5,000 tons for China. That's 7,000 tons. The world is going to look and say, wait a minute, how on earth did they get it? That means the United States doesn't have its gold. China then makes the statement to the world and says, I'm now I'm stating how much inventory I have. I am willing to take all private gold that the West may want to give me. And that's how the game ends.
And that's going to be at what price? Not at $12 or $1,300 an ounce.
Well, probably say $3,000 to $5,000 per ounce.
Whoa! So you're saying that and sometime this year, we're going to see a price spike like you have never seen in gold bullion before in the history of the world. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. You will see, you'll go to sleep at night on tonight, let's say, and gold's at 12.50. You wake up the next morning and you'll say it's bidding 3,000, bid no offer, and all of a sudden it'll rise by $500 a day.
That's coming in 2014.
It'll come right in 2014. They're running out. They don't have it. And you can see it, and you look on the gold sister, its weaker sister, silver.
Ah, good. Let's get to that.
And I like you to see, because once you see silver, it's similar to what's going on in gold, but even better. Okay? Now, what you're also seeing, I would like all your listeners to know, is that China is going in on the 22nd of September. They're going to have a futures market similar to the COMEX, but in physical metal. You settle in physical metal. So for the first time, you're going to see the pure discovery mechanism work. And it's going to be in total conflict to the crimes that are being committed on the COMEX. So you're going to see two different types of markets, although they're the same.
Boy, that's going to be awful hard to have China trading a actual, real, bona fide. Come get your cameras down here. You'll see the money change hands for the silver. That's what you're talking about.
For sure.
And you're going to say it go at what's going to happen then? What am I going to see? The money is how much, the silver will be how much trading hands at that point?
Actually, the correct answer is that you'll be amazed at what you can buy per ounce of silver and per ounce of gold. It is the ultimate money, and everything will be priced according to it.
So what do you think the price of silver will be in dollars?
As of today, I would probably suggest $200 an ounce.
$200 an ounce? Are you talking about in September?
No, December. I think by December this whole thing is going to collapse, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me. Okay, let's get this to breathe now.
Yeah.
So by December, everything, gold, silver, the whole thing, poof, is gone. We're going to get a new pricing mechanism for both metals.
Well, if you watch Shanghai, China has been always a silver nation from way back when.
That's the Opium Wars, they wanted to get paid in silver, and Great Britain wanted to pay in opium, I guess, and that was the Opium Wars, correct?
Correct. And they've been always, and they used to create coinage, the junk silver, the big, beautiful they used to produce in the 30s. And when Mao overran China, he had a hoard of 300 million ounces, between 300 and 600 million ounces of silver. He didn't know what to do with it, so he started. I mean, this was a Western phenomenon. He was a communist. He would really, he didn't want to show any wealth, so he started. Didn't know what to do with it. The gold was in Chongqing and shipped to Taipei, and that's where Taiwan became a gold China, basically, the little island became, because China never got any of the gold from MacArthur, because Chongqing was the major source, and he couldn't get to it, and then they flew it in.
And let's fast forward up to today now. Why this is going to end in December, and you were talking about the silver thing. So September 22nd, you're going to see a new exchange in, is it Shanghai, China?
In gold.
In gold. And then what about silver? So you're saying the silver, whole silver thing, you say it's worse for silver. Explain to me why the silver fix ends, the silver price suppression game ends this year.
Okay.
I mean, you do agree that prices are suppressed?
Now, for sure.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't putting words in your mouth.
100%. In fact, that's all I say. It's manipulation 24/7, every hour of the day.
Okay, hold on a minute. Let's stop. Okay, you're back in focus now. Let me ask this a question again. Why does the silver suppression game end this year?
Okay, now what you have to watch is what's going on in Shanghai in the silver market. Their silver market is now well advanced. The gold is going to be beginning in September 22, but the silver is well advanced. And now they have, first of all, their inventory. A year ago, Shanghai's inventory was approximately 33 million ounces. Today, it is 2.9 million. It is losing approximately 2 million ounces per month, which means they have maybe 2 months left. Now,
so you're saying when that ends, that's how it ends this year?
Yes. Well, what I've been saying since 2006 that the actual longs on the COMEX are really mainland China, which is quite something. And I've been saying this, and I know Bill Holter also is agreeing with me. And the reason is because China knew the suppression game and didn't mind playing it. They said that probably the United States went to China and said, listen, you've got a hoard of 300 to 600 million ounces. How about lending it to us for 10 years? And China said, great. It became a favored nation. Its economy grew. It took in a huge number of U.S. dollars. Now, that was probably, now, in 1990, the U.S. had about 2 billion ounces above ground silver. In the year 2003, they had zero. So you can imagine how much silver has been used.
Well, are we going to be able to give them back their silver?
No, it's gone. It's consumed.
Isn't that going to make them awful mad?
They are mad. That's probably why they are the longs. They use proxies, and they're surrounding the COMEX. And that is why the open interest on silver has remained very, very high relative to gold. So gold, you're having a low OI, open interest, and a low price of gold. But silver is strange. All of a sudden, you're seeing for the first time in history, in recorded history, on a prolonged basis, a high open interest with a low price of silver.
And why? And let's get back to, I want to kind of laser you in here, Harvey. Why do you think the game for silver ends this year as well?
Because the Shanghai silver is depleted. The amount of silver needed by China for its industry is massive, and it's going to rob wherever it can to produce its pharmaceuticals, its solar panels, its screens. Even though China produces about 117 million ounces of silver a year, their demand is probably double that.
And so why does it end this year? Why are you putting a time frame of this year? I don't mean to be mean to you. I just want you to focus in on why this year. If you could sum it up in a couple of sentences, somebody like me can understand it.
If Shanghai is out, where is China going to get its silver? It can't get the SLV. Nothing moves out of SLV. That silver is depleted. There's only one above ground hoard of silver known to man. And that's whatever is at the COMEX. And I don't think there's very much there either. I think a lot of the stuff is phony. But whatever is there, China is going to grab it.
And why does it end this year then?
Because they're going to say, that's it. And they're
going to run out of silver this year in China.
Yes, which automatically it's going to be a heartbeat over in New York. and silver would be all together.
And
Once,
and when do you think China's going to run out?
because they've only got 2.9 million left, 2.9 million
And
ounces.
how long is that? How long will that last for?
Well, they've been utilizing 2 million ounces per month.
Well, that only puts us into the first part of November, I guess.
That's basically what I'm.
And you think it'll be over because of that? When that happens, when they're out in 2.9 million, 2 million a month, 9 million, middle of November, roughly, you think that's when they go to COMEX and say, hey, you know those longs? We'd like to cash them in.
Yeah, that's surrounded, and that's the game. That's the end game.
So whether it's gold or silver, there's a couple different things at play here. Whether it's gold or silver, it ends this year, sometime before the end of 2014, party over, new price.
It's a failure to deliver. A failure to deliver is the same as a default. It's the same as a paper default. And China is a very tough guy. They're tough guys. They're going to demand what they want.
Do you think that's what all this South China Sea is about? Another carrier group over to China? Do you think that's what this whole Russia thing is about with Ukraine, and which seems almost ridiculous that they're, I don't know, pushing this? Do you think that's why that the West sees the game coming to a close, and what a better way to cover it all over than a big nasty war?
That's exactly why you're seeing it. You got it. Exactly what's happening. Because they have to fight, because it's a physical default. And China's just not going to sit idly by. China's going to say, I want my silver back. Or I'll tell the world. Or I'll flood the world with my $3 trillion US dollars. Either way, they're going to demand what they want. They had an agreement. They gave the silver to the United States, and the United States defaulted on it.
We haven't yet, but you're saying mathematically we have to default on it.
They probably, we believe that they got this in 2003. It's 10 years, so they probably technically defaulted in December of 2013. So they now probably gave them a little leeway to come up with the silver, and of course, same as Germany, nothing's coming. And of course, China then says, okay, this is what I'm going to demand. And now you're seeing China, you're seeing alliances built. Like today, you're seeing China and Argentina joining. And now the next thing you're going to see, of course, is Germany and China going together. And then finally, you'll see Saudi Arabia going to price its oil in yuan.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
That's a good point. Saudi Arabia is a big question. I'm sorry. I mean, you're blowing me away here, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Do you want to add anything about Saudi Arabia?
No, that's an end game.
Okay.
When the petrodollar gets converted to yuan, that's another end game.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Sure.
This year?
Yes.
No, this is. Oh.
The whole thing is going to happen all at once. You're going to see it's all be a crescendo of events.
So let's just do a little future casting here. So okay. January 1st of 2015, what's the price of silver, you think?
200 an ounce.
What's the price of gold?
Probably 10,000 an ounce at that point. 12,000 an ounce.
In dollars, what's the price of oil?
That's a tough one. Oil should be about $130, $140. It's going to be hard for an economy to operate. But certainly it's going to be difficult for people. But I think about $140, $150. But they're going to need a new currency. You got to back it by gold. So there'll be a new world order.
And this is the new world financial order will come first.
And the United States are doing everything to create a war to stop this. That's why you're seeing all this crazy, this farcical, the Ukrainians trying to say, they're trying to start a war here. The Russians certainly don't need it. And
do you think they're going to be able to pull it off, the war, or are they going to let this? Boy.
Well, I think that certainly Putin doesn't want. I mean, he's playing baseman. Now they certainly played the Gazprom card today.
Yeah, with the sanctions, actually, that was yesterday.
Yesterday. But certainly Austria is not going to be a happy camper because they're on the South Stream as the end game there, and they're not going to be too happy campers going against Putin. And this is where you're going to see Germany, who needs desperately the oil. They will probably say that's enough, enough of the sanctions business.
And where are you going to see the dollar on the USDX? I mean, is the dollar collapse at that point?
50.
50 from 82 or 3 to 50.
or yeah.
All right, Harvey Organ, I got to tell people to go to your blogspot.com, Harvey Organ, blogspot.com. Been around for a long time. You one of the most studious experts in the physical markets, and thank you very much for coming on USAWatchdog.com and enlightening us about your predictions and your math and analysis to go with it. Thank you very much, Harvey Organ, coming to us from Canada.
Thank you so much for having me.
Is the manipulation going to be killed? When is the price of gold and silver going to reevaluate? When is all this criminal activity going to answer? And you said, oh, I think it's this year. So you're here to tell us when this is going to happen. And I think you told me in the pre-interview it was going to happen this year. Please explain.
Yes, it's definitely going to happen this year. What you have to do is watch what's going on in Shanghai, China. China is the physical market as well as, of course, London. But what's happening is Shanghai lately has been bringing in, actually this last week was about 42 tons, 42 tons of gold. The week before was 46 tons. And the Federal Reserve Bank of New York are using their gold, which is other people's gold, and they're supplying that metal to China, and they're very, very happy to absorb it. And it's actually, yes, and actually that's what I said back in 2010 to the commissioner. I think it was O'Malley who asked me, and I said that basically gold is going to move from west to east. And he looked at me as a stunned. I remember that was March of 2010, and China was just getting started then.
And you have testified. I left this out, but you have testified in front of Congress. You are no amateur with this. I mean, I know this isn't your chosen profession. That you are a pharmacist by profession, but you are well beyond any kind of amateur if they're inviting you to testify in a week.
In a week.
Yeah, we can't deliver but 5 tons in a year back to Germany. But go ahead.
Now listen, now if you divide that on a 7-day week, that's about 6 tons, a little over 6 tons of gold per day. And believe it or not, the world produces about 6 tons of gold per day, ex-China, ex-Russia. We remove China and Russia because not 1 ounce of gold ever leaves their respective countries. So you can just imagine if they're taking almost 100% of the world's supply of gold, eventually this thing must end, and it's going to end very, very rapidly. And what you're actually seeing is both London, the LBMA, the Bank of England.
In front of Congress, but I just wanted to add that. Go ahead.
Well, I testify in the CFTC hearings. This is the silver probe.
In Washington, I should say, not in front of Congress. Thank you.
It was in Washington, and that was a very scary time for me. But anyway, that's at that hearing. That's when Jeff Christian came out and said that there are basically 100 obligations of gold for every 1 ounce of physical metal there is, and he basically is part of the banking cartel. So from that point in time, we kind of knew. And Adrian Douglas and I, we exposed that this was happening. And basically, that's what the COMEX is. You're seeing a huge amounts of obligation.
I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. With us, a man who's been on the internet since 1999. That almost sounds medieval in internet years. But that's how forward-thinking this guy is. To know, ooh, I need a website in 1999. That's one of the original people on the internet, and he's a brilliant guy. We're talking about Harvey Organ of Harvey Organ, blogspot.com. He knows all about gold and silver in the physical form and all about the London Bullion Market Association, the COMEX. Harvey Organ, thank you for joining us from Toronto.
Well, thanks for having me, Greg.
Well, in the pre-interview, I said, the one question I get, especially from the gold and silver community, and it's a one-word question, and it is when. When